You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, home of Braves Country with Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Key and YouTube.com at Braves Country.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hey folks, this is Mark White with The Mark White Show, and you can tune into The Mark White Show every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. right here on Rock 99, WQEE The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes one free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale Safe and Clean pledge so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling wax paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
Hey sports fans, The Key has a brand new show. Braves Country is coming your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We'll be talking the Atlanta Braves and Major League Baseball, along with everything important to sports fans in Braves Country. The SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and the National Football League, and the big sports news of the day. That's Braves Country with Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE The Key, 99.1 FM, and simulcasting on youtube.com/at Braves Country.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up,
good night,
there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell and engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey, Braves fans, thank you for listening to Braves Country Baseball. Hi, I'm Magee, and we are here to bring you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves, bringing you spring training and 2 to 3 games a week all season long. Please like and subscribe today. Braves Country Baseball.
Winter is the perfect time to start planning for your healthy, pest-free spring lawn with True Green, America's #1 lawn care company. True Green's science-based approach and local expertise will help give your lawn the year-round care it needs to be thick and weed-free. Go to truegreen.com. Just call 866-946-5956 or go to truegreen.com today and get a lawn to be proud of.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
We're talking Southern sports. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE. Braves Country Today, Southern Sports Talk with the voice of Braves Country Baseball, Magee. Joined every day from sports analysts from all over Braves Country, talking college football, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and what's trending in the world of sports. Braves Country Today, we go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Armchair. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Major League Baseball on a Monday. Braves are off, but still a pretty good slate across the league. Atlanta heading back home, getting ready for the New York Mets series, which begins tomorrow night. We'll have all 3 games of the Mets series here on Braves Country HD. Pitch-by-pitch, play-by-play. Every game starts at 7:20 Eastern. As the Braves, coming off that dramatic come-from-behind win on Sunday, the grand slam by Eddie Rosario in the 9th inning to win the series in the desert. This afternoon, Major League Baseball, 4:05 Eastern. This game is a makeup game from Friday's rainout. Tampa Bay Rays, Boston Red Sox, McClanahan versus Brian Bayo. Tampa Bay's minus 165 on the money line. Over under is 9. This evening, a couple of games of interest in Braves country. Tigers are at the Phillies, 6:40 Eastern. Philly minus 225 on the money line. Over under is 9. Wentz versus Aaron Nola. And the Royals are at the Marlins. Miami will send Garrett to the mound, 1-2 with a 4.22. Hernandez for the Royals, 0-3 with a 4.76. 7:05 Eastern, A's versus Pirates. JP Sears versus Oviedo. Pirates are minus 195 on the money line. Over under is 8.5. Astros and Blue Jays, 7:07 Eastern. Alek Manoah on the hill, 1-6 with a 5.46 ERA. He'll try to right the ship and get back to his 2022 ways. 7:10 Eastern, Brewers are at the Reds. Julio Teheran, 1-1 with an 0.82 ERA. He's in Cincinnati to take on the Reds and Abbott. Cincinnati minus 115 on the money line. Over under is 9.5. Cardinals are at the Rangers. Pretty good matchup as that series begins. It'll be Wainwright versus Martin Perez. Texas minus 130. Over under 9.5. And the Cubs are at the Padres. Kyle Hendricks 0-1 with a 3.86. Snell 1-6 with a 4.5. San Diego minus 170. The over-under is 8. NBA taking a couple of nights off, but the NHL is back in action. The Stanley Cup Finals, Game 2, the Vegas Golden Knights. They lead the series 1-0 over the Florida Panthers. Vegas minus 140 on the money line. Over-under is 5.5. They'll play tonight, Thursday night in Sunrise for game number 3. Game 4 is Saturday in Sunrise, Florida as well. The NBA this week, Wednesday and Friday night. You got college baseball and college softball going wall to wall today. We'll keep you updated with the scores and what they mean as the show rolls along. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Newnan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com at Braves Country.
Armchair.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
Why did you get so drunk?
You got drunk. I'm just really exhausted.
What's in that cup?
Armor Cokes.
Do you have any idea how important this is? We're trying to save the pub. Really? This is what you're doing?
Chief, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world.
106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Armchair.
YouTube Live.
Radio station. The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station?
I like everything. It's always on my radio. We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
You're listening to Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We're here live weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, and simulcasting on youtube.com / Braves Country. Your first choice for Southern sports. Good afternoon. I'm Mac Magee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. We are still dancing in the streets in Braves Country. Eddie Rosario coming through in the clutch. Oh, it feels like 2021.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. He's the all-American man.
Hey, howdy, hi, and how the hell are you? Well, I'm doing pretty darn good after that game yesterday. If you missed it, we had it right here on Braves Country HD, and still trying to get my voice back. Might have blown out my voice in the during the melee, but that was an incredible game, incredible comeback. We're gonna start the show off talking about the Diamondback series, and then we'll look ahead to the Mets, as that game will come your way Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, all right here on Braves Country HD, pitch by pitch, play by play. So if you're blacked out in your area or whatever, no worries. Just jump on to YouTube and find us Braves Country HD. It's youtube.com / Braves Country, and we will get you pitch by pitch, play by play of your Atlanta Brave. And it's also a fun place where folks like to hang out, watch the games. Even if they are watching, they like to hang out and they like to, chime in and go back and forth with Braves fans. We're Braves fans here in Braves Country HD, and that's kind of the lure to it, is as far as we try to set up an area where fans can have a good time and be amongst other Braves fans and react when they want to react, and when they don't want to react, they just kind of, let the stream go. And every once in a while, I'll see folks that'll chime in every once in a while that I don't even realize have been in there all game long, and then something will really drive them nuts, and they'll chime in, or they'll get super excited, like after that Rosario home run. That was an incredible set of circumstances that went down there yesterday. If you missed the game, just to kind of set the atmosphere. First of all, Soroka goes out, and I'd probably be a little more critical if we had lost the game. Some little softer edges today because we won. But let's call a spade a spade. Soroka doesn't look that good right now. And I don't know if he was ready to come up and pitch in the majors yet. I don't know if they rushed him because of the injuries. I mean, you got to figure if you still had a healthy Wright and a healthy Fried, he'd be down there in the minor leagues still trying to work himself out. I'll tell you who does look good and looks ready to be in the major leagues, and that is A.J. Smith-Shawver. Came in, gave us 2 1/3 scoreless, 3 strikeouts, no hits allowed, did allow a walk, but that was it. And you can't ask for much more from Shawver. And it's a shame that they didn't let him finish out that last inning. He let the one runner on, and then after he got the next out, they pulled him. But it's kind of a shame because he would have gotten his first major league victory after the Braves came back. But I get why they did it. They wanted him to leave on a high note. The last thing you want to do with a kid like that is to have him go out there and, have a bad outing, right? So all in all, you can't complain with what you got from Shawver, but then also you can't complain with just how darn good he looked. And his fastball is real. His fastball's going up there. I saw 97 once or twice, 96 a couple of times. Pretty routinely, he was sitting there between 93 and 95, right? And so you got yourselves another guy in the bullpen that you can go to. And I think what you saw yesterday is what you're going to consistently see from Shawver is he is going to be a piggyback. He is going to be a guy that's going to come in around the 5th or 6th inning and try to build you to the 7th, 8th, and 9th. Build you somewhere in that area, depending on how well he's pitching and how much rest he's had, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think he's a guy that they're going to try to bring in very often for one inning. Now, there's going to be circumstances where he will, but to start off, I think they want 2 innings plus from him every time out because they want to keep him a little stretched out so that if he does have to go out and start, it's only 1, maybe 2 outings where you're pulling him in the 4th, and then after that, you can let him go further. But let's talk about his pitches. His fastball looked great, and I thought his slider breaking looked great. Curveball wasn't there for him yesterday. That doesn't mean that it's not there normally. I've only seen him pitch a couple of times in the minor league, so it's hard for me to sit there and have a big hot take on a guy that I've only seen a few times. But from what I saw of it, I was very impressed by the fact that, number one, his composure. He comes into a game. When he comes into the game, we are trailing at the time. He comes into the 6th inning, and at the time, Atlanta was trailing 5-3. And then he stays in for the 6th, the 7th, and the beginning of the 8th. When he leaves, we're trailing 5-4. And then, of course, everything unraveled for Castro and the Diamondbacks. He gives up the grand slam. Nothing against Miguel Castro because he's got pretty good stuff, but I was a little shocked that was their closer considering how good they were. Arizona's a good team. They're a damn good team. But Miguel Castro has kind of bounced around, and I guess I remember him the most when he was a Met. He was very hit or miss. What you saw yesterday and what we saw from the previous outing, the series, that's pretty much Miguel Castro. He's going to put ducks on the pond, and I don't think he has the blow you away stuff to be a major league closer. I really feel like he's a 6th, 7th, maybe 8th inning guy, but I really feel like he's a 7th inning guy. So I will say that I believe Arizona is going to be out on the trade market. They're going to be looking for a real closer. They're going to wait and see who falls out of the race and who's available, but they're going to be looking for someone to actually shut the door. And the Braves do have that closer. Iglesias comes out and he walks the first batter, and you're like, oh, here we go. Here we go. And then he gets that double play. Great defensive play by Olsen, by the way. He scoops it and flips it to first. Flips it to second. And then Arcia guns it back down to first. And you get that double play. And that kind of killed any rally that they were even thinking about having, right? But that was an incredible game. Incredible series for the Braves to lose that first game and then bounce back. Strider has a solid game Saturday night. The bullpen did great. Listen to this number. The Braves bullpen this past weekend, 9 1/3 scoreless innings. And in that, McHugh looked good. AJ Minter looked very good. And it looks like he's almost abandoned the cutter for now. He's only thrown one cutter in his last two starts. Or last two outings, excuse me. So he's thrown around 25 to 27 pitches in his last two outings. And he's thrown one cutter. That was the pitch, if you remember, that was the pitch that was flattening out and it just wasn't getting enough bite. So he's gone primarily to his fastball and his slider. We'll see if he I don't think he's going to totally give up on the cutter. Don't get me wrong on that. I don't think there's any way in hell that's happening. But I did find that interesting that you're going to have a situation like that where he goes in, he's ready to rock. And if he doesn't have that cutter in his repertoire, do other teams start realizing that? And then they're going to start headhunting the fastball. Now, he's got a great fastball. Always up there around 96, 97. But that fastball was always set up by the fact you didn't know if he was going to mix in that cutter. So I do think he goes back to the cutter eventually, but he's just trying to get straight. He's just trying to get straight. And these dopes out there that think that he's going to be able to just go to become a two-pitch pitcher and be as dominant as he was in 2021 and beyond. No chance in hell. I saw a podcast talking about that today. I was like, there's no way. You can't abandon it. If you do that, then you have to develop a third pitch. Because to be a dominant relief pitcher in Major League Baseball, you need two outstanding pitches, but you need a third pitch that they've got to be aware of. And it was always great with Minter that it was the fast, the slide, and the cut, because they all start on the same plane and then they all take different avenues to get to the plate. So you could really keep batters off balance. Whether or not he goes out in the offseason, maybe develops something else, I don't know. But right now, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing is what he's going with. But he'll eventually have to mix some stuff in. It's still early in the process, so he could probably still get away with the two pitches, because if you're hitting those, then there's not much of a chance in the early going that the batters have adjusted. But let's say he goes into this Mets series and uses those two pitches. Let's say he has two outings, right? And he blows them away. The next time he sees the Mets are going to be, all right, well, we've looked at his numbers for the last several weeks. He hasn't touched the cutter, so let's just sit dead red. And all you have to do is figure out, is it a slider or a fastball? That becomes more tricky. So we'll see how long he goes with this. But regardless, Minter looked good this weekend. McHugh looks solid. And A.J. Smith-Shawver, I was just absolutely blown away. I thought with the nerves, first of all, we were clamoring the entire broadcast, all of us, not just me, but everyone who chimes in with the Braves Country HD family. We were all like, bring in Shawver. Soroka looks terrible. Bring him in. And he came in, and I thought it was the best situation for him. A game where they're trailing, they're on the road, not a lot of expectation, and he finally gets in. And man, did he look good! And with his demeanor, Snicker always likes to call it a slow heartbeat. Smith-Shawver seems like that he's got a slow heartbeat. Speaking of that, we're going to talk about Soroka. We're going to talk about Snicker. I've got a couple of clips from them after yesterday's game. I want to play them for you real quick, and then we'll react. This is Mike Soroka on his outing.
I think a lot of times it's always like that. It's the difference between an outing where, maybe you struggle here and there, but still go 5-6 innings and give the team a better chance to win. Obviously got bailed out by some pretty good offense there, and some good heroics by Eddie. That was awesome to see. But got to be a little better at attacking right through. I think most of the damage was two outs today, and that's just it's not quite me. That's not what made me. Is kind of being able to step on their necks, if you will. Make sure you get that third one, and obviously it's a good ball club over there. They got some good bats, but a lot of pitches that need to be made and weren't.
Snit mentioned just being mindful that, you're still starting to make consistent starts again and out of the majors for a little bit. Is that something that you keep in mind too, just yourself, I guess, and giving yourself a little bit of a grace period maybe?
Maybe as a process, but we're back in the big leagues now. It's time to get outs. If it were still time to work on things, I wouldn't be here yet. So I think it's time to go put up more zeros and fill up the glove a little bit better. I think that's one thing that made me who I was filling up the strike zone. So that's going to be number one focus going forward for sure.
What did you think about AJ, how he went out there in his debut?
Yeah, I knew exactly what I was going to see. I said before, he goes out there and attacks. You can see his competitor. He's a great athlete. And, he left it all out there. It was really awesome to see, and he pitched great.
I don't know where you saw that Eddie Grand Slam or you're watching it, but what is a moment like that like down to the final out, big series, what is it like?
That's huge. It's this lineup 1 through 9. We've talked about it over and over again. Anybody can beat you, and Eddie's had a great series here. It's fun to watch. He just needed a pitch to hit, and sure enough, he got one. Right down Broadway, and he didn't miss it. So it was nice to have him bail us out there, and obviously the rest of the club. Albie's early on too with that homer. They gave me every opportunity to go out there and go deeper and get the win, but they made up for it later. So very thankful for them.
All right, so that was Soroka, and he said all the right things. And look, the biggest thing that I saw from watching the game. Now, I saw a couple of people put up spray charts, and look, all the analytics kids like to do this because whatever the new hip acronym is for the year, they like to live and die off of that, and then they like to show you the spray charts and whatnot. But this is why you have to watch the damn game. Watch the game. Don't watch your phone. Don't watch the spray charts afterwards. You have to watch the game. You can't watch it. You need to listen to the game. You need to listen to what you're hearing from the folks that are bringing you the games. However you consume it. The biggest thing that I saw from watching the game is that when he came back through the second time through the lineup, because the first time through the lineup, and this happens with a lot of folks who have never seen. He had a lot of guys in that lineup that A, have either never seen him, or B, it has been a while, right? And they're probably going back and looking at a lot of his old video to try to get an idea of who he is. Well, he's really changed as a hitter, as a pitcher. He no longer, as a hitter, tries to get you to swing down on the hard stuff into the ground. Remember, Soroka was never a big strikeout guy. He used to lot of ground balls. He would get his fair amount of strikeouts, but typically, if Soroka went 6, you were expecting 4 to 5 strikeouts. He was never Look, I play a lot of fantasy baseball. He was never the fantasy baseball guy that everybody wanted to draft high. Because what you hoped from Soroka was a quality start. But he's not going to go out there. He's not Spencer Strider. He's not going to go out there and get you double-digit strikeouts. That's not who he is. He's got a solid fastball. He always had a solid sinker, but it looks like now that he's living more off of fastball slider change. And the slider that he has, man, it's not sharp right now. Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with – because it had anything to do with nerves. Watched him pitch a couple of times in the minors. This is kind of what I saw. So I'm thinking this is who he is right now. May not be who he is at the end of the year. He's still coming back from two major injuries. So I'm not ready to give up on him by any stretch of the imagination. But what I am saying is that he's not a major league starter on a contending baseball team right now. He's just kind of finding his way. He's kind of, as they say, fake it till you make it. And he's trying to fake it. And why do you think the Braves set him up to go up against the Oakland A's to start it off, and then made sure that remember everybody was getting an extra day off? If he looked phenomenal and was out there dealing, you think he wouldn't have gotten an extra day off and have him set up for game 1 of the Mets series? No. They want to make damn sure he pitched before the Mets series, so he's going to miss the Mets altogether. And they want him to go his first start at home is going to be against Washington. So that was by design. I don't think we can expect Soroka when he goes out for, we'll just say the next, I won't even say handful. I'll say next 3 starts. Don't expect the moon and the stars. Expect that he will be fortunate to get through 5, maybe 6 in a higher scoring game. You don't want him to see much of the lineup a third time through. And you hope he can keep you in the games. And it's probably going to be a day where they're going to pinpoint and say, look, on that day that Soroka starts, we want Shawver to be rested because let's expect him to go 2 to 3 innings as well. And you might have a situation where it becomes pretty routine for Soroka to go the first 4, Shawver to go the next 2, maybe even 3, and then you spell the rest of the game in the 8th and 9th, depending if you have the lead. You go to the Anderson Iglesias, or as we've been calling them, eyeglasses. If you don't have the lead, you throw some Kirby Yates in at him. So that's where we're at right now, Soroka. You can't expect him to be where he was. And I don't think we need to overreact either. Start calling him a bum and wanting him yanked out of the game every single time. This is a 162 game marathon, not a sprint, not a football game. It's not a football season where you're trying to get through 4 quarters a week. You're trying to get through 162 9-inning games in a 6-month span. You do the math, that it's an absolute grind, as they like to say. So when he comes in his next start, I would think that they're going to try to have Shawver well rested. He'll be due to pitch. I would take it that he's probably due to pitch Saturday because they've bumped everybody back. And what it should have been was going into this weekend, or this week, excuse me. You should have been looking at, all right, Mets are throwing Carrasco in game 1. We've got Elder, advantage Braves. We'll go more deep into this next week or tomorrow, next show, but we're going to do a quick scan of it. The Charlie Morton start versus Max Scherzer on Wednesday should have been Schuster. But they have jumped him to put Morton in because it's the Mets. And then they're looking at game number 3, which is Thursday night, will be Verlander and Strider. So when you look forward to Friday, the Braves, right now it says Soroka. But I would have thought that they would have went Schuster then Soroka. So we'll have to see, because several days away, and they don't have to give us an answer right now, first of all. And so when you look at that, you just know that Soroka and Schuster are most likely going next weekend against Washington. And it makes a lot of sense, but just typical of the way they've done it, I don't think that they would miss the opportunity to give Soroka an extra day to work on his stuff. And honestly, Schuster's stuff has looked better than Soroka. So I'm not rushing Soroka back out there to the mound over Schuster. Schuster's looked better. So that's where we're at right now going into that series. Still waiting on news about Max Fried. And the biggest thing with Fried is there is no news. There hasn't been a real update on him in probably 10 days or so. So a lot of times no news is good news. We'll just go with that theory that he's still starting his throwing program was the last thing that we saw about 10 days ago or so. And we'll wait for an update. And I would say, considering the timeline, I would say somewhere end of June, we might see a rehab assignment for him. And they'll bring him back. I still think that they're going to wait until after the All-Star break. I just don't see the advantage to rushing him back for one start. Unless you can time it up perfectly and have him start like Friday before the All-Star break and then come back again and start a week later. But you don't want him to start on like a Tuesday and then have almost 2 weeks off, because that can throw off your entire throwing program. So looking at that Mets series real quick, as we sit, were we 3.5 in front of the pesky Marlins, 5.5 in front of the Mets, 8 in front of the Phillies, and 10 in front of the Nationals. Real quick, wanted to hit this up real quick. What does this week look like for the Braves division? Not just the Mets and Braves series, but the entire Braves division. What are we looking at this week? Because, I mean, I swear, the Marlins, it's almost like that they have handpicked the easiest possible schedule. While we're out playing Arizona and the Mets, they're playing the A's and the Royals. Now, I know it all evens out, but when you look up and you see that, it kind of drives you batty. Now, the good news is, excuse me, Washington starts a 3-game set. They're at home, but they're going to play the Arizona Diamondbacks. So the only bad news on that front is that they obviously miss Zach Gallen, by far their best pitcher. They are going to have to face Kelly, and Merrill Kelly's pretty darn good number 2. But not that concerned about what the Nationals are doing. When you're 10 games back, I'm much more concerned with what are the Marlins doing. Marlins are going up against Kansas City and then at the White Sox. So 2 of the worst offenses in all of baseball. And the Marlins pitching staff, I mean, let's be real. Miami has a very good opportunity to win both of those series. Miami's going to send Garrett, Luzardo, and Cabrera out against KC. KC is going to have Hernandez, Greinke, and Lyles, but Greinke pitches much better at home than on the road. And then as far as the White Sox series, are they going to face? They will face Dylan C, so that's an advantage. And Michael Kepik has been better. And Giolito has been better this year. Not where he was a couple of years ago, but he's been better. But when you look at what they're going to do, I mean, that's a light schedule, and we're about to take on the New York Mets. By the way, the Mets, after this series, the New York Mets are going to be at Pittsburgh. That's not going to be easy for them either, and especially when you consider how emotional the Mets-Braves series gets, even in the middle of June. These guys get into it. Mets could be a little flat going into Pittsburgh. And if you saw it yesterday, for the first time, they put Senga out there on 4 days rest all year long. He got bombed. Mets got swept by Toronto, but he got bombed. I think he went 2 2/3, 4 earned runs. They yanked him. So when they go into Pittsburgh this weekend, they could be a little flat on that too. So even obviously we want to win the Mets series. That's my focus for this week. Beat the Mets. You'd love a sweep, but we want at least a series win. You win 2 of 3. They come in to the series 5.5 back. If you win 2 of 3, you'll be 6.5 in front. Now, obviously, if we can pull off a sweep, 8.5, and then we've really created some breathing room and just have to focus on the Marlins for the foreseeable future. But that's a lot to ask, to go out and beat Carrasco, Scherzer, and Verlander, even though it's all in Atlanta, and we've done it to them before. That's a tough ask. I do like the Braves I think they've got the upper hand in game 1. Elder, much better pitcher than Carrasco's been this year. Game 2, I honestly think that's a toss-up. Scherzer, we know what Scherzer's capable of, but he's been real spotty, especially the second and third time through the lineup. So he's not the dominant pitcher that he was. And what I've seen with Scherzer is one of the reasons why he got caught with all the sticky icky all over his hands is because his velocity's down a little bit, but he's trying to get any advantage he can. So second, third time through that lineup, the Braves ought to be able to get to Scherzer. And let's be honest, not only do we get their best, they're going to get our best. Our guys are going to go up there amped. They're not going to be out there flat, especially with the day off. They're going to be ready. They're going to be focused. Then we go up against Verlander and that Strider. Verlander, that's a tough one. That's to me, that's another toss-up. So if we win one of the toss-ups, we can win the series. Assuming Elder goes out there and does Elder-type things. Elder is going to be the type of pitcher, I believe, that's going to give the Mets nightmares because he's around the plate. They love to sit there and just eat pitches. He's around the plate more times than not. He should have a good outing. But we'll get more into that in tomorrow's show. But that's a kind of a quick overview of the series. The thing about Verlander, you can expect him to go 6-7 innings. Can you expect the same from Strider? Strider has not pitched well against the Mets. He's usually out by the 4th inning, 5th inning. His pitch count's usually through the roof because the Mets don't strike out like other teams do. So they just sit there and pepper foul balls left and right and build your pitch count up. Should be low-scoring games across the board. We might get to Carrasco, and we might eventually get to Scherzer, but I think all in all, it'll be pretty low-scoring games. And obviously, both bullpens will be rested because both teams have a day off. So And the good thing about Washington playing Arizona, their bullpen ought to be pretty beat up when they come in to face us this weekend. So that's what the weekend looks like, or the week looks like. Miami's going to start off with KC and then go to the White Sox. The Mets are going to play in Atlanta and then go to Pittsburgh. And then we're going to be at home against the Mets and the Nationals. Oh, in Philadelphia, real quick, they're at home against Detroit and home against the Dodgers. So they don't really have an easy cakewalk themselves. Detroit's much better than they have been in years past, and the Dodgers are the Dodgers. So that'll be it in a nutshell. And hopefully these guys are getting some rest, and we'll see what happens. But by the way, real quick side note for Braves country, those of y'all who've been, with the Braves for a long time, Julio Teheran pitches tonight. He's actually done pretty well. He's 1-1. His ERA is low, and he's pitched 2 solid games. I was surprised. I thought his career was over. He's with the Brewers. He's in Cincinnati. So I'm kind of pulling for Julio. I always liked Julio when he was with Atlanta. He was one of my favorite pitchers to watch. I love the guys that are just off the plate that get you to ground balls into off the sinkers and 2-seamers and whatnot. It's the Greg Maddux fan in me, but that's an interesting one. He plays Cincinnati and dodges a bullet because Milwaukee plays Baltimore right after that. So he's going to go up against Cincinnati, and then he's going to go up against the A's. So Julio Teheran's got a chance to really kind of build a little bit of a resume here in the early going of the season. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We come back with a lot of things to jump on. You got the college baseball playoffs. You got the Women's College World Series. Tones is on the way. We're going to continue our fantasy football draft. I'm going to draft a guy today that has never been drafted in fantasy football, but he's the best to ever do it. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country and Braves Country HD. 99.1 FM WQEE.
Just want you to stop saying odd. You get any sleep last night?
I don't sleep. I just dream.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
How to improve your dining room by the Home Depot. New wood floors, new paint on the walls. Sure, you know us for that. But how about a new dining room table, matching chairs, bar stools? How about free and flexible delivery with easy online returns? Now you can explore decor in a whole new way. Save now on furniture. Everything for your home. Everything from HomeDepot.com. How doers get more done.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge, so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
Whenever I bring home Entenmann's Little Bites muffins... Little Bites? That's right, sweetie. Can you just give Mommy a minute? I love Little Bites! I know you do, but we're doing a commercial right now, okay? Got it. As I was saying, whenever I bring home you-know-what, you-know-who gets pretty excited. And so do I. Little Bites muffins are made with real ingredients, no high-fructose corn syrup, and are baked moist and delicious.
I love Little Bites.
Here you go.
Yes.
Entenmann's Little Bites muffins. The perfect portion of happiness.
Braves, wait a minute. Do you think you got me a tape of the show?
What on earth for?
Well, how often do you get to hear your son on the radio?
I'm on the radio every day!
Welcome back, Braves country. A couple of things we didn't get a chance to get into in the first segment. Going to hit you up now on, as we go rolling into. First of all, tonight 7:05 Sun Belt Baseball League, Chattahoochee versus the Atlanta Blues. That'll be right here on WQEE 99.1 FM. And excited to see that season get going. And then as far as the Braves are concerned, didn't get a chance to play it in the first, because I don't like playing clips back to back, because this one's kind of a lengthy one. But I'm going to play it. Then we're going to react to the news that Soroka was sent down and a couple of other things. But I want to play this first because this was right after the game. You can kind of read the tea leaves.
Bit of a wild game. Great finish. I think so. What can you say about the way you guys battled, Bill?
It was great. It was great. You know what? It was kind of, we backed up a pretty good offensive day with another one here. So, you know, I liked how we hung around in that game. Yeah, it was really good. I mean, we showed the metal that we have, I think, and what these guys are made of. And that was really good.
We're thinking there when Eddie goes up to bat there. He's
good. You know, he's been locked in this whole road trip. And I had a pretty good feeling. I mean, you know, you hope he hits a grand slam. I mean, usually it doesn't happen that way. But, you know, I had a good feeling because I say he had some really good at-bats.
Since he's been with you guys, does it seem like he's one of those guys that has a penchant for kind of the big moment?
Yeah. No, I mean, he's got a slow heartbeat, that's for sure. He's shown that. And we heard that from the guys before when we signed him. The guys have been with him in Minnesota. And, you know, it's good to see that, you know, he's starting to get locked in a little bit. And you know, because he could be a real force, that's for sure.
What did you think about Smith-Shawver?
That was really good. Really good. You know, it's so hard in that situation to pick what's the best time, what's the right time to bring a kid in. You know, when he came in, and even we're going to give it to him if we take the lead. Just thought, you know what, if there's never perfect, but that was probably about as good a time as any, and I thought he did handle himself really, really well. That stuff's really good.
How about just to think about how this game ends? It just changes the tone of the road.
Oh, no, right? Yeah, absolutely. You know, started out, we kind of sleepwalked through Oakland, and, you know, I thought Travis clicked one that first game of the series here, you know, and had opportunities to tie the game that night. And then won a tough one yesterday, and then to come back like this, those are really good things to build on.
Is that Eddie hit something you were talking about a couple nights ago, that you get one of those big ones and things start to maybe turn a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, you never know. I mean, you look back, you know, you never know what it is, you know, because, you know, you're getting after it every day. But things like today don't hurt, that's for sure.
Was this just a reminder that it's still part of the process for Michael or Soroka?
Yeah. No, I mean, you know, it's yeah. I mean, making the consistent starts and you know, you forget that it's been a long time since he's been out there, but as long as he's healthy, you know, and today it was just kind of had trouble closing the innings off. I think all the runs were 2 out in area. I remember when I went and got him, I told Travis that we're a strike away from getting out of that inning, you know, and you know, it is. And it's just part of the process of, you know, but as long as he stays healthy and can continue to make the starts, you know, it's going to go in the right direction for him.
Have you been encouraged by what you've seen from Minter the last couple times?
Yeah, no, this road trip was really good, I think. And it's been really good, I think, for him to come in and pick guys off. You know, it's kind of, I think, helping him get back in his groove. And I see him, you know, fighting through the difficulties he's had. Now he's starting to come around and look like his old self.
Did Smith-Shawver smile or anything? I know you're still smiling when he comes out.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was, I said, you know, it's just it's a pitching mound and a catcher, just like you've been doing your whole life. And I thought he handled himself really, really well. Didn't get too amped up. I don't know. I was watching his warm-ups for the inning. I don't think he threw a ball over. But it was good. It was good. And it seemed to, as he was out there and got relaxed, it kind of got better. So that was very encouraging.
And was Murphy for Ozuna? Because Ozuna didn't run hard on that one. Did Ozuna, I mean, does he even have to say anything? Or
No, I mean, I guarantee you he feels worse about it than I did for having to take him out.
Okay, so a lot to unpack there. First of all, didn't get a chance to get into. By the way, real quick, want to give you a scoreboard update. LSU leads Oregon State 6-2. Arkansas leading TCU 1-0. Those are winning your end games for all these teams playing today on college baseball regionals, trying to get to the super regionals. And Oklahoma punched their ticket. They beat Stanford in the Women's College World Series. They will face the winner of the Lady Vols versus the Lady Seminoles tonight. The two of them will play. If Tennessee wins the first game, they'll play a second game, win and you're in. If Florida State wins the first game, there is no second game. All that gets going at 7 Eastern. I believe the whole thing's planned for on ESPN. Now, if Florida State wins that second game, I don't know what ESPN's going to put on after that. Play some 30 for 30 crap that nobody. I mean, did you see this new one that they're putting out with Bill Walton? Ugh, who cares? I mean, Bill Walton. Ugh. All right, whatever. They're trying to make him out to be some obscure character in the world of sports that's lived this charmed life. He's always come off as a loon to me. And I've never really enjoyed his broadcasts because he's got a pretty annoying voice. So it's not the Beth Mowins fingernails down this chalkboard kind of voice, but it's pretty darn close. I don't have to cover my ears, but I might at least put some, earmuffs on, muzzle it out a little bit. But okay, so all the stuff that went on, a lot of stuff here. The Ozuna thing, you better watch it. That's all I can say. You're not playing well enough to Cadillac it and watch a 400-foot single. You're just not. You don't contribute anything on the base paths. There is no glove to speak of. You're there to hit, and you're there to hustle. And normally he hustles, so I'm going to give him a pass. But he just needs to watch it because it's not something that they're going to play with. They're trying to win every game. Every game is going to become very critical, especially now that we've hit June, the April and May of of the jabs and feeling each other out like a long boxing match is what a baseball season always feels like to me, at least. All that stuff kind of goes by the wayside when you start getting into June, July, start hitting that trading deadline. Things start getting serious, and they're not necessarily going to be all that keen if you're not out there hustling. So I guarantee you're going to see a different Ozuna on the base paths going forward. I'd be shocked if he wasn't busting it down. I mean, you might see him sprinting down to first on a walk. I think you're going to see a big difference there. But look, not going to kill him because guys do that, man. Sometimes they get to smelling themselves and they hit a ball and they think it's gone. And in most parks, that ball is gone. But you got to be aware that you've got that overhang. And I'm not saying you've got to bust a hamstring, tear it from limb to limb, gunning it down to first on a ball hit that hard. But you need to start running. Don't gawk at it. Because if you do, you better be right. You better be right. I feel like it would have made a hell of a lot more sense at that very moment. And this is the difference between Snicker and other managers who, got ones big enough to come in a dump truck kind of thing, right? A lot of managers over the years would have pulled him immediately while he was standing on first base and embarrass him and put Hilliard or Pilar or whoever he wanted to put. You wouldn't put Murphy there. I know they eventually put Murphy at the DH position, but you're not going to have Murphy pinch run for anybody. It makes no sense. But it'd be a perfect time to let a Hilliard get into the game, that kind of thing. So anyways, we move on from that. It was a screw up, and I can live with it, especially because we came back and won the game. But had we lost by that one run when we were down 5-4, we talked about it during the broadcast, that was going to loom. That was going to loom large. Because had he been standing on second where he should have been, at least on second, because that ball ricocheted off the wall. When that wild pitch went, he would have been standing on third. He would have scored in that inning. Anyways, moving on from that, you got the Soroka news that he got optioned down to the minor leagues, AAA. And I know this kind of comes to a shock to a few folks. If you caught my tone in the last segment, it doesn't really shock me. News came out this afternoon, but the news just does not shock me. If you look at what he did, his 2 starts, it was underwhelming. It was, I think his ERA, I have it here somewhere, but it's like 8.38 ERA. Everyone keeps remembering him from 2019 and they think it's the same. It's not the same player. It's just not. Here it is. And where they could be going with this is the other thing. Soroka is being sent back to AAA after he posted an 8.38 ERA. That's bad enough. A 1.862 whip. You're talking about an average of 2 runners on the base paths per inning is what that means. 6 walks and 5 strikeouts. When you're walking more guys than you're striking out in 9 2/3 innings. So a small sample size. I still think he can turn it around, but I never thought that he was ready when they brought him up. If you remember listening to previous shows, I kept pointing to the fact that he's not very dominant down low on the farm. Once again, he was only here because of the injuries. All right, so we send him back down. Now you could Phantom IL somebody after the Mets series and bring him back before 10 days. But typically it's 10 days that you have to wait before you can bring him back up. That gives him at least 1, maybe 2 or more starts to kind of get right. So let's just assume that they don't Phantom IL someone. Let's say nothing like that happens, right? And let's say that ends up being they go with the roster that they have. Because during this move, they picked up the guy from the Dodgers that was DFA'd an infielder, but he was sent straight to the minor leagues. So to AAA as well. I'll tell you something else. If Michael Harris doesn't start straightening it out, he might be roommates with Soroka really quick. I know they're paying him a ton of money and you don't really want to give up on him, and his glove is phenomenal. That's one of the reasons why he's staying here. But let's be honest. Let's call a spade a spade. When it comes to the actual playing ability of Michael Harris II in this season, not what we saw last year, man, he's not starter worthy. At most, you can say platoon. Yeah, he's playing great defense, and it's fun to watch, and I get that. But you expect offensive prowess from this kid. And I've mentioned this before, and I'm going to stick by it. Until he straightens out, until he gets to the point where he's very good again, why in the world are they not platooning him? Now, it won't come up in this coming series, right? But when they face a lefty, because there's 3 righties on the bump versus the Mets this week. You got Carrasco, you got Scherzer, and you got Verlander. 3 righties. But when a lefty's on the mound, Pilar can play a decent center field. Why not put him out there? You give Harris a mental break, and you don't make him face a tough left-hander, and what little that he actually helps himself get through. And even when there's not a left-hander on the mound, I'd like to see Pilar play, get at least 2 starts a week. He's earned it. He's been incredibly good off the bench and in spot starts. But Lucas Williams is the infielder that the Atlanta Braves grabbed off of the waiver wire from the LA Dodgers. It's infielders, nothing really to write home about, but to make room on the 40-man roster, they did place Max Fried on the IL. So though we still not getting real news on Max Fried, that the fact that he is going on the 60-day IL just tells you that he won't be back until probably after the All-Star break at this point. We talked about in the first segment. I think it makes a ton of sense. I really do. I know we all want Fried back and we're all anxious to get him back, but it doesn't make sense to rush him back and then have him stop and start and stop again and start again. Let him go about his business. Make sure that when he comes back in late July or mid-July, I want to say that the All-Star break, it'll end. The All-Star break, the Friday after the All-Star break is July 14th. So we're talking about middle of July. Why not just earmark that and say, hey, that's when we hope to have you back. And at that point, we've got 2.5 months of Max Fried going out to the bump every 5th or 6th day. And if he's Max Fried-like, we're going to win this division. And we're probably going to win it going away. Kyle Wright, hopefully the same thing. I'm a little more concerned about Kyle Wright and what he's going through, because he's had 2 somewhat significant injuries this 2023 calendar season. But as far as Luke Williams is concerned, Lucas Williams, he is a 26-year-old. Let me see if we've got any news on him as far as Lucas Williams. I mean, there's not a whole lot of stats on him here from what I can pull up. See, this year he had 10 at-bats, 1 hit. I mean, there's nothing to go off of. In previous years, he's 26 years old. He played for Philly, San Fran, and Miami the last 2 seasons, and LA this season. All in all, he's a .234 batter. This is just a depth piece in the organization because he can play. He's gotten starts at outfield, all 3 positions from my understanding, and third base and second base. So he can play just about anywhere, and that's where we're at. So, but I think Shawver gets the start, and we'll talk more about that on the other side of the break. We got to hit the break. We're at the top of the hour. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Armchair. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Major League Baseball on a Monday. Braves are off, but still a pretty good slate across the league. Atlanta heading back home, getting ready for the New York Mets series, which begins tomorrow night. We'll have all 3 games of the Mets series here on Braves Country HD. Pitch by pitch, play by play. Every game starts at 7:20 Eastern. As the Braves coming off that dramatic come-from-behind win on Sunday, the grand slam by Eddie Rosario in the 9th inning to win the series in the desert. This afternoon, Major League Baseball, 4:05 Eastern. This game is a makeup game from Friday's rainout. Tampa Bay Rays, Boston Red Sox, McClanahan versus Brian Bayo. Tampa Bay's minus 165 on the money line. Over-under is 9. This evening, a couple of games of interest in Braves country. Tigers are at the Phillies, 6:40 Eastern. Philly minus 225 on the money line. Over under is 9. Wentz versus Aaron Nola. And the Royals are at the Marlins. Miami will send Garrett to the mound, 1-2 with a 4.22. Hernandez for the Royals, 0-3 with a 4.76. 7:05 Eastern, A's versus Pirates. JP Sears versus Oviedo. Pirates are minus 195 on the money line. Over under is 8.5. Astros and Blue Jays, 7:07 Eastern. Alek Manoah on the hill, 1-6 with a 5.46 ERA. He'll try to right the ship and get back to his 2022 ways. 7:10 Eastern, Brewers are at the Reds. Julio Teheran, 1-1 with an 0.82 ERA. He's in Cincinnati to take on the Reds and Abbott. Cincinnati minus 115 on the money line. Over under is 9.5. Cardinals are at the Rangers. Pretty good matchup as that series begins. It'll be Wainwright versus Martin Perez. Texas minus 130. Over under 9.5. And the Cubs are at the Padres. Kyle Hendricks 0-1 with a 3.86. Snell 1-6 with a 4.5. San Diego minus 170. The over-under is 8. NBA taking a couple of nights off, but the NHL is back in action. The Stanley Cup Finals, Game 2, the Vegas Golden Knights. They lead the series 1-0 over the Florida Panthers. Vegas minus 140 on the money line. Over-under is 5.5. They'll play tonight, Thursday night in Sunrise for game number 3. Game 4 is Saturday in Sunrise, Florida as well. The NBA this week, Wednesday and Friday night. You got college baseball and college softball going wall to wall today. We'll keep you updated with the scores and what they mean as the show rolls along. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Newnan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com at Braves Country.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
So anyway, Harkins sat me down. He said, Champ, you're a dangerous alcoholic, a racist, and I don't think you know a lick about sports. And I said, Ed, you dirty Pollock, it's 10 in the morning. Let's go have some drinks. Then he fires me.
Welcome back. Tones is on the way. We're going to be doing our... It's been pretty fun. It's pretty funny. I got something to share when we get to this today. The all-time NFL or all-time fantasy football draft, and a question that was posed to me over the weekend. I can't wait to tell Tones about this because it's so funny, and it's funny too because it's from Doug, and Doug thought that he would ask me off air so he wouldn't look like a fool. Well, I'm still going to bring it up. It's a pretty fun. Once I explained it to him, like it's one of those things like, oh yeah, I don't even know why I asked that, but it was a fair question realistically. But if you get the drift of fantasy football and what we're doing with this, yeah, it would have been a wasted pick. Anyways, we're going into this week, heading into the Mets series, and I went ahead and put the college baseball live scores over my shoulder so folks can keep up with that as we go along. Penn, how about Penn on top of Southern Miss? Wouldn't that be something? I don't know who they're slated to play if they get through, but you got TCU over Arkansas, number 3 in the country, 2-1, and Oregon State and LSU on top of that one, 7-2. And all those are winning your end games. Bunch of tickets have been punched. Florida won that this afternoon, so they're headed to the super regionals. I'm going to try to pull up the actual bracket to kind of figure out where all this is at. But a lot of stuff going on in the world of college baseball and the women's softball. The Lady Vols, Lady Seminoles, they are going to be going head to head tonight. And basically just look at it this way. The Vols they need to win 2. The Seminoles need to win 1. And I don't know what you necessarily win, because this Oklahoma team seems like an absolute buzzsaw. They're back-to-back national champions. They've won, 40? It's got to be 52, 53 in a row, because it was 49 coming in. So it's got to be right around 52 in a row. And Stanford actually gave them a game. I'll have to give them that. They went to extra innings. But Oklahoma, I believe they ended up winning by 2. But I did see that they punched their ticket. They moved on. And Oklahoma awaits the winner of Florida State versus Tennessee. Let me see. Is there a score here? No, there's no score. They just show that that's where we're at. So Tennessee did a nice job of knocking out Oklahoma State to get there. And it's kind of weird. They crisscross after they get past the first round. So you'd have thought Tennessee and Oklahoma would have been in the same bracket. And the way they crisscross, it makes zero sense, because Stanford was already over there, but they didn't crisscross over into Florida State's bracket. Like, the whole thing doesn't make any sense, but I just follow it and go, okay. I enjoy watching the sport, and that's about my where my fandom is. I would never call myself an expert, and I just enjoy watching the sport. Really enjoy watching it on mute, because Beth Mallins has been covering all the games. It's like, ugh, put an ice pick just bleeding in your ear. As far as the men's, we'll pull up the men's tournament here in a second, but I want to get back to the Braves real quick, because the Braves, Oregon State, by the way, just hit a home run. So I think they just pulled within 3. And by the way, there are games tonight in the men's tournament. So if you're getting off work and you're wanting to watch some college baseball, there's a few games tonight. I don't know why they didn't do more of these games in the evening, but I mean, for me, it would be, television ratings, etc. It's a Monday. If you went to this, you've already probably taken most of the first part of the week off anyway, so you're not in a hurry to get out of there. But anyways, back to the Braves and what's probably going to go down. Look, with the whole Shawver thing, I guess he's going to... They could do this one or two ways. They could give him a chance to start this weekend against the Nationals, which would be ideal. Or they could just skip that spot in the rotation and go to a 4-man rotation for the next calendar week. When you look at what the Braves have in front of them, after they get past the series this weekend versus the Nationals, you're then looking at, let's see, Monday is at the Tigers. And then next weekend, they're at home against the Rockies. So, I mean, you could play this a number of different ways. Essentially, what you could do, if you wanted to, is you could have, because they've already bumped the guys up, you can only go so far. So I would say Shawver gets the ball either Friday or Saturday. It is at home. You're putting a lot of pressure on the kid at home, but he's playing against Washington, so you give yourself a puncher's chance of winning. And with that being said, looking at that matchup, if you put him on Friday, he'd be ready to roll that following Wednesday against Detroit. But to me, I'm putting Schuster on Friday because Mackenzie Gore's going on the hill for Washington, and Gore's been pretty darn good. The Saturday game is Trent Williams. Trent Williams is okay, but he's not dominant. He's a right-hander. The Braves rake against guys like Williams, who's a fly ball pitcher, excuse me. I would, to me, and it's a 4:00 afternoon game. It's a little more. There's a lot of advantages to that. You're going to get a little bit of the shadow on your end. To me, I put him in the Saturday game. I put Schuster in the Friday game. Plus, I don't want to give a big long off time for Schuster. And so that's what I would do. And then you would have him ready to roll again, back home again. He wouldn't pitch on the road trip. He would go back home again on Friday against Colorado at home. And that's a pretty good way to kind of, now they decide not to do that and they decide to call someone else up because they still have not done that. We're going to know a lot in the next 24 hours on how they try to do this bullpen or this roster. Because when they sent Soroka down and they picked up Lucas Williams, they didn't bring Lucas Williams up. They brought him over into AAA. And to do that, they had to put Fried on the 60-day IL. But what they have not announced yet, and I keep checking it to see if Atlanta mentions it, and it just keeps saying Williams has been sent to AAA, Soroka to AAA. We'll know a lot probably by tomorrow on what the corresponding move will be. Most likely they're going to bring a bullpen piece up, and that could help out because you might start Shawver, but you might look at him as an opener, right? And it ends up being more of a bullpen game. Now, you might give him an opportunity to go as long as he can go, but you might realistically be saying, all right, this guy is going to be 3 innings, maybe 4, and then we'll piggyback them off with there's a number of ways that you could go with this with the Braves on who you could pull up. But it's going to be a usual suspect because it's got to be someone on the 40-man roster, someone that's already on the 40-man roster. So there you have that. And when you look at who they could pull up, I mean, ideally, but I just haven't heard anything about him. What has Dylan Lee been up to, right? Dylan Lee would ideally, because it'd be nice to have that extra left-hander coming in for the Mets series. I'm going to check one of my sources real quick to see if there's any news on him real quick, but I still haven't seen anything. And no, there's been no news on Dylan Lee in the last. So that doesn't mean anything, but there's been no news relevant in the last couple of weeks. But Dylan Lee would be, if he's ready to roll, Dylan Lee would be ideal to bring him in, because if you do go with the opener type of deal with Shawver, Lee is a perfect pitcher to bring in on that Saturday game to pitch 2 innings plus, and then of course you would build it with Jesse Chavez, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of this stuff is still developing, but we're going to know a lot more by tomorrow's show, because tomorrow's show we're going to end up starting the Mets series, and obviously the Mets series is going to be tough. But I still think, I haven't seen a number on it yet, but I think the Mets Braves series, I would say the Braves are probably going to be at a -160, -170 to win it, which in layman's terms, they're going to be a decided advantage, because you're sending, essentially, you're putting your best foot forward. You're putting Elder out there, Charlie Morton, and Strider. And they're going to go Carrasco, who has struggled. Now, he pitched well last time out, but he has struggled. You got Carrasco. They've got Scherzer, who has had his struggles, though he's still Max Scherzer. I'm never going to believe that he's just totally fallen off. And then Verlander, who is still one hell of a pitcher even at his age. But man, oh man, if we could sweep the Mets in Atlanta, you talking about sending shockwaves through New York, they would be in panic mode. Because we would leave that series 8.5 games in front of them. That's putting the cart well before the horse. I just want to win the series. We're going in 5.5. I will be thrilled to leave that series up 6.5 games on the Mets. And you look at what we have left. The Braves left with the Mets. I mean, what do we have? We had the 4-game set that was in New York. And only three of those games got played, so they've got the makeup. I think that's in August. Memory serves me correct. But you look at the back half of the season when we're going to take on the Mets, and yes, it's the doubleheader August 12th is when that's being made up, or supposed to be made up. You never know. August, New York, it could always rain there again. But we're going to play 4 in New York again. And then we've got the series, the 3-game series against New York and Atlanta. So we've already played 3 in New York. We're going to play 4 more than 3. I would just like to know. We were supposed to play all these teams 12. Why are we playing the Mets 13, and why do the Mets get an extra game at home? Riddle me that, Batman. Riddle me that. Why do the Mets get an extra game at home? Something stinks. Something's awry. Tones is popping into the window. So what we're going to do is take a quick break so we can reset and he can catch his breath. I'm sure he's running in from the driveway or whatever. And it's 4:20. Smoke them if you got them. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country. Got a lot to talk about and a little time to do it.
I'm just there till my divorce is final.
Now, who is coconuts enough to divorce you?
Oh, we gotta go. But we'll see you around.
Well, we'll have to have you over sometime.
I'd love it.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. She's awesome.
No, we are never having her over. Heard she already slept with 2 dads from the school.
What?
Mm-hmm.
That's horrible.
Whenever I bring home Entenmann's Little Bites muffins.
Little Bites?
That's right, sweetie. Can you just give Mommy a minute?
I love Little Bites.
I know you do, but we're doing a commercial right now, okay?
Got it.
As I was saying, whenever I bring home you-know-what, you-know-who gets pretty excited. And so do I. Little Bites muffins are made with real ingredients, no high-fructose corn syrup, and are baked moist and delicious.
I love Little Bites.
Here you go.
Yes.
Entenmann's Little Bites muffins. The perfect portion of happiness.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Do you want to lose 18 pounds fast and improve your health? Now you can lose up to 18 pounds in your first 2 months with Nutrisystem. Get delicious breakfasts, lunches, dinners, even snacks and shakes delivered safely to your door. All delivered for free. It's easy to follow, and you'll see results in your first week. You'll get your favorite foods made healthier and perfectly balanced to put your body in fat-burning mode. Millions of people have lost weight with Nutrisystem, and you can too. Lose up to 18 pounds in your first 2 months.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out.
Take the scenic route in the new Hyundai Santa Fe, the family SUV with available H-Track all-wheel drive to help you travel way off the beaten path. Find new adventures together in the Hyundai Santa Fe.
Who is on first?
What are you asking me for? I don't know.
Welcome back to Braves Country. Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 to 5 p.m. Drive Time on WQEE. Welcome back. Tones, I see what Joey's involved in a gambling investigation with the Indianapolis Colts. That's what's going on.
Seemed like Joey signed a one-day contract, placed a lot of bets, and now they're coming for him with the Colts. But
That actually tracks with his record on our show. that actually tracks.
Yeah, but it seems like after the Lions a couple weeks back, they had a plethora of players go through some gambling things. One individual Colts player seemed to take it up a whole notch, and it says he placed a lot of bets, and he's still currently on the Colts. So we're kind of waiting to find out right now who it is. I'm thinking maybe, I'm not going to be skeptical and guess names at this time, but signs point to it might be a defensive player, and it's not a star, but quote unquote a likely known player by many. So,
let it be Jonathan Taylor.
Imagine that. Imagine if it was that big of a
you know
name.
what? Let it be AR-15. Let it be him. If there's a God in the heavens, let it be AR-15. Not only would it nail a Colt, it would nail a Gator in the same sentence. Bam! Let's get him.
Colts are hoping somehow that the Matt Ryan transaction hasn't been finalized yet, and it was somehow Matt Ryan being the player on the Colts to place all those bets. But interesting stuff nonetheless. It will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I can't wait to get his reaction. Joe will be on tomorrow. So it's a Colts player is being investigated for gambling on games, and there's evidence the player had hundreds of wagers. Now, when you're saying on games, are we talking about football games?
Yep, that's what it seems to be. And it seems like he bet on Colts games as well, but they're not sure.
That's going to get you at least a year.
And they're not sure if it's on the Colts or against the Colts.
Oh, if it's against the Colts, he might be done.
He's blackballed, in my opinion, if it's against the Colts.
Yeah, if they find out that it's on the Colts, it's probably at least a year with one of those, what do they call it? We have to have a committee to meet with the committee to see if you're going to be on the committee kind of thing. Right?
Yeah.
But if it's against the Colts, he's going to get Pete Rosed.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and deservingly so, right?
Honestly, if you bet on the Colts, you should be gone.
Yeah.
It was bad enough what Calvin Ridley did, but at least he didn't bet on the Falcons game. It was an off week and he bet on an NFL game.
Right.
But if you're betting on your own team, there are so many things that come into play because everyone always wanted to defend Pete Rose and say, well, he bet on his team to win. First of all, we don't know if that's true because the one thing Pete Rose has proven, other than the fact that he can get the most hits of anyone in the history of Major League Baseball, he's also proven that he's a liar, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't you lie to save your own ass in the middle of that? I mean, let's be honest. We'd all lie.
Correct. Especially being a caliber player like Pete Rose was, right?
Well, when you're painted in a corner, no matter what they ever try to tell you, kids don't believe that. Don't believe the hype when they say honesty is the best policy. Believe the hype of whoever it was that did that one song. Wasn't me. On the sofa. Wasn't me.
Shaggy.
I deny.
For real, kids.
Lawyer up.
Literally deny, lawyer up, and keep denying.
That's the America I know, by God.
Were you there? No. Camera show. I don't care what the camera shows. Nope.
And if you can get a lawyer dumb enough on the other side, try to put on some gloves. You'll get out of it lickety split.
Man, do you think, real quick here, do you think this is going to be a problem in the NFL? We've seen it a couple times. I mean, the Lions one wasn't seemingly.
Yes. I think it's going to be a problem in all sports, to be honest with you. Because, and I can't believe it hasn't happened in baseball yet, but the main reason why I think it may not have happened in baseball is because of that fear that everybody has because of the Pete Rose thing, right?
Yep.
So it's and that's in every locker room, and everybody's aware of. You bet on baseball, you gone.
And then
Players play every day. They may not have time to even think about betting, right?
although it was like 2 centuries ago as well, didn't the Chicago Black Sox have a huge baseball scandal too?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was it was almost like it was yesterday. It was just over 100 years ago. They got kicked out. What, 8 men out?
Yep.
I mean, if you're not familiar with that story, it's actually a pretty good movie. But that's the whole Shoeless Joe thing. That was them actually throwing the World Series against the Reds.
Ironic against the Reds. That's irony.
Yeah, and I think one thing that a lot of folks don't know about that story is they were proven in a court of law to be innocent.
Mm-hmm.
And that night, the commissioner of baseball banned them for life. So they were all out celebrating. Hey, we beat the system. Hey, we beat the system. Look at us. Da 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 da. And they stood on the fact of the guy. I don't care what the court said. We know you did it, and you're going to ruin our sport if we let it go on. So you gone. I still say it was the right decision.
Yeah.
And I still say that even though I'm a big Shoeless Joe Jackson fan, he probably doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But if you're going to ever put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame, you got to put Shoeless Joe goes first. Sorry, Shoeless Joe goes first. And there was actually a couple of guys that were ousted on that 8 men out that had Hall of Fame credentials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that team was notorious for a reason. I mean, I know it was the World Series. You're automatically great, but I remember reading a couple books and watching a couple things on that Black Sox team. Man, that was a really good baseball team they had put together that year. It's a shame to see what happened, but I mean, if
they were, and you know, the thing about them is a lot of folks probably just don't realize they hear the term Black Sox and they figure they got the nickname from the scandal. They were already being called Black Sox by the sports writers because Comiskey, the owner, was so cheap that he would not pay to have their uniforms cleaned. And so he was taking it out of their paycheck. And they said, well, to hell with it. We just won't wash our uniforms. And their uniforms started getting so dirty that it was local sports writers that were referring to them as the Black Sox as opposed to the White Sox. He finally caved and said, okay, I'll start cleaning your uniforms again. And then he just took it out of their bonus World Series pay at the end of the year. So all this was leading up to what was inevitable, which was you had a cheap owner, players that felt underappreciated. A betting scandal was bound to happen.
And for those of you who have young baseball fans in the household, kids at home who love the game, pick up books called Shoeless Joe and Me or Satchel and Me. The Shoeless Joe and Me does a great job of diving into the Black Sox scandal in a kid's aspect. And they have a lot of legends. There's Satchel and Me, Whitey and Me for Whitey Ford. It goes on and on and on. So it's a great series. They're called And Me. Shoeless Joe and Me is one of the better ones. It's really cool. And for kids at home that are baseball fans, really good reads.
Yeah, and the actual movie 8 Men Out was just really well done. Plus, if you go back and watch that movie, which was it's about 30-something years old at this point, incredible actors that ended up having great careers all throughout that movie. It's not as exciting, and it's not one of my favorite ones. It's not as good, in my opinion, as like Field of Dreams or whatnot, because the imagination doesn't get there. Because it's kind of a darker film. But it's definitely worth a watch. It's one of the about dozen or so movies that I watched during the off season. I never have a chance to barely breathe during the regular season, but the off season, it's always on my list. Here's a funny one. Figure we go ahead and get the picks out of the way for folks who are not familiar with what we're doing. We are doing an all-time fantasy football draft. And I'm going to pull those up here in 1 second.
Man, this has been fun so far. One of those things where you got to kind of put a lot of thought into it too, because you don't really realize how many, even guys like Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, it's like, but then you look at their 2 top seasons and it's like, oh, a lot of guys have had 2 really good seasons. It's not easy to do.
So far it's been Priest Holmes, Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, Randy Moss, LaDainian Tomlinson. Probably should write his name out before I start thinking that's Lawrence Taylor in my notes. And Dan Marino. So it's my pick to go again, and I also got Bobby's pick. So we're going to be good to go on that. So we're going back on the turn, and I had back-to-back picks. I picked Marino on Friday, and let me see. Do I have it in my notes? Give me 1 second. Let me see here. I'll have to get the years here in 1 second because I got it somewhere else. But I'm going to take Jim Brown.
That's a good one, obviously.
Yeah, well, I thought it'd be fun to draft a guy who's never been drafted in the history of fantasy football, right?
That is really cool and interesting to think about.
But he played in an era where he was the offense, and there was a couple of years that I wanted to hit on because I was so torn at which year do I pick. There's 3 really good years, okay? 3 that, well, he had an outstanding career, but there's 3 that are above the rest. And the ones that jump out at me is he had 1,500 yards in 1958 and 17 touchdowns. He had, where was it? The next one. In 1963, he had 1,800 yards and 12 touchdowns.
So what you're going with 63 and what?
Calm down. He had in 1964, he had 1,407 touchdowns. In 1965, he had 1,517 touchdowns. So I'm on the fence there, right? What I'm really looking at is which ones do I go with between 58 59, and I went ahead and I think I'm going to go ahead and go with those, and I'll tell you why. They only played 12 games back then, which means these are condensed numbers. And though he had more yard, man, that is such a difficult one. I'll stick with my original, 1958, 1959.
I like those 2.
It's really difficult to put on the shelf the year that he goes 1,812 touchdowns or 1,517 touchdowns. I got to look at per year. He had 17 and 14 in 12 game seasons.
Yeah, that's impressive. And that's something to think about as well. The 12 game seasons, you see some of those numbers and it's like, if he did that in 12, what would he do in a 16 game season? I mean, mesmerizing stuff. And, now he plays 17 games. So it's really crazy to think about some of these guys. There's a 5 game gap difference in history.
So then we go from there, and I'm going to go ahead and draft for Bobby as he sent it to me over the weekend. He is going to draft Antonio Brown. And how did he put it? He said the best fantasy wide receiver in my lifetime, which dates all the way back to 2012 with Bobby, whatever, however old he is. So he's going to go with 2014 and 2015. Antonio Brown, which is back in his Steeler days. I can't really argue with that one. I mean, he was phenomenal.
He was a really good player, a really good gem, and not a hidden gem. Nothing hidden about him. But yeah, I mean, for as big of a goofball as he is now, back in that day, when you had Antonio Brown on your fantasy team, you were sitting pretty and living good.
Absolutely. So that's going to take us to you. And you drafted Randy Moss. Where do you go here? Do you go another wide receiver? You go running back? You go quarterback?
This one This one was really tough for me, and it was like splitting hairs for who I was going to take here. I had two strong choices, both of the same position, both the running back position as well. But when I was breaking it down and looking it down, this guy, his career wasn't great longevity, but for these 2 years, he was such an elite running back, and he caught a pretty good amount of passes as well. I'm going with 2005 and 2006 Larry Johnson, running back, Kansas City Chiefs, grandmama. In 05, he had 1,750 yards on the ground, 20 touchdowns, 33 catches, 343 receiving yards, and a touchdown. Then in 06, he had 1,789 yards on the ground, 17 touchdowns, 41 receptions, 410 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. So although he was obviously way more of a rusher, he could still catch. That adds up in half-point PPR. And, man, to see him span that much yardage, that much touchdowns, and that much receptions in 2 years, none of his other years have came close to either of those two. He really was productive in 05 and 06. I'm going Larry Johnson.
Yeah, I probably should have went running back and then receiver, or receiver and running back, but that Dan Marino was just a homer pick. He was my favorite player growing up, And
it was a great pick as well still.
Right, but you can probably wait on a quarterback. I mean, let's be honest. But, I'm not going to regret it. Got him. You got Jim Brown. It'll be interesting to see how this thing unfolds when it comes back down to me. I'm hoping there's still a really good running back. I got a feeling that they might all be gone, but lot to pick from, and considering the fact that you can just pick any two seasons, a lot to pick from. I mean, I feel like the receiver area is just deep as hell.
That's why the 2 season things comes into play a factor, right? Because if you do careers or even 3 or 4 seasons, a guy like Larry Johnson probably not even thought of. Here, when we do 2 seasons, he goes toe-to-toe with some of the best of him in terms of career numbers just for those years.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Doug, what he asked me was, let me get the exact text. Well, the cleanest version I can send you. He wanted to know if one of my picks played dual positions, would all stats be included? And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, who the hell is... Doug's a Raider fan. I know exactly who he's talking about. I thought about saying, well, yeah, I came so close to setting him up and saying all stats that we're counting will be included. I thought about being cryptic like that and just wait to see who he picks. I knew where he was going. He was talking about drafting George Blanda, the place kicker / quarterback. And so instead what I said to him, I said, Doug, are we talking about George Blanda? He goes, yeah. I say, well, we're not drafting kickers, so what does it matter? Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep.
But I'll tell you what it did bring to mind. It would be the Shohei Ohtani argument all over again. Because if he played in today's game, everyone who drafted Blanda as their quarterback would want his kicking stats.
Mm-hmm.
The other funny thing is, and sports writers weren't this dopey back then, but you'd have people voting for him for MVP.
Yeah.
Sports Center would be eating it up. Go, well, he kicked 3 field goals and 2 extra points. They didn't score any touchdowns, but that's not his fault, even though he was the quarterback.
It was, remember when, I mean, that is so true, though. We see it in fantasy right now, right? A running back throws a touchdown or a quarterback kicks one, they get the points for it. So Blanda suddenly would shoot up a lot of draft boards and be ESPN's favorite buddy to talk about.
Yeah, it would be an interesting conversation if we get another. That to me seems like, of all the things that could be a dual threat in the National Football League, all these great athletes, you'd think one of them could figure out how to be a place kicker.
Right. The only one,
or at least a punter.
Yeah, punter for sure. I mean, nothing against punters, right? But a little bit more stress-free than kicker even. So I think punter, kicker, quarterback would be good. I mean, the one that we know about and see is fullback, linebacker, kind of a dying breed, but fullback's dying out. But
if you could save a roster spot
mm-hmm.
by having a punter also be your whatever, receiver, whatever.
Right.
It would be enormous.
And they don't even have to be
big if he could be your place kicker too. Because how often do teams even punt anymore?
Yeah, and to add to your point, you know what I would like to see? Well, I don't really get why we haven't yet. I'd love to see a tight end long snapper, right? Add some speed to that special teams. And then at the same token, as you said, you save a roster spot if you don't need your own long snapper. I think teams could start getting a little creative and getting a little innovative for sure.
The long snapper, though, you got to be careful because that's a pretty important position.
It is. And, those guys could get hurt if they don't know what they're doing. But, I used to do that in Madden. There is a difference in real life and Madden.
Yes, there is.
Oh, man.
You would think these video games are exactly like sports because I get comments all the time from people that want the Braves to do things that you would only try to pull off in MLB The Show.
Why didn't we trade
trade Ozuna for Shohei Ohtani, and it really would solve a lot of problems.
They saved this amount of money.
There's no override button in real life. Right?
Automatic deal. Push it through.
Yeah. We're going to give him a really crappy deal, but we'll hit the override button and let this trade come through.
Or like in Madden when you're offering your 2026 first round picks and then you get like one of the best players in the league just because you're throwing away.
Exactly. You're trading away your top picks 3 years from now because you're only going to play 2 seasons. I will totally tank my team. That's the next coach's problem.
I'm going to be out of Madden by then.
Yeah. By then, they'll come out with the new Madden. I don't remember the last time I bought a Madden. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. I bought MLB a couple years ago. I can't tell you the last time I bought a Madden.
They're still not going to have the college football game this year, are they?
I don't think so. I think next year they targeting their return, I'm pretty sure. I think there might be like a modified form this year, but it ain't the full-fledged product.
No, I think I saw where there's like some version that someone's put together on like a PC.
Mm-hmm.
Man, if I got to use a keyboard to play, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out.
Then use joysticks.
Keyboards or cell phones to play video games. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What a waste of advertising dollars that is when I open up a Facebook or whatever and they're trying to get me to buy some game on a phone.
Right?
Oh, dude, get out of here with that.
Some fun.
Real men use joysticks, not keyboards, dork.
We're joystick warriors, not keyboard warriors.
Use a joystick, not a keyboard, you dork.
For you kids at home, remember that.
It's always more fun with your joystick, huh? All right, we'll be back in a flash. Wrap this puppy up and give you our locks.
I might audible. If I audible, I'll use Omaha! Red Polly! Blue Poncho! Do it! Rambo! Give me Kershaw here, Kershaw!
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Top Japan! Richmond, New York! Richmond, Florida! Sally, Buffalo! Check! Hey, Short Ox! Ludo Raiders! Omaha! Time out!
Beware, my friend, and let me warn you. They're thinking of taking a bumps to California. Let's keep the Dodgers in Brooklyn. Our house is not a home without some love. Don't let them leave our premises. LA will be their nemesis. But Brooklyn fits the Dodgers like a glove.
Visit Shane Company for meaningful holiday gifts. Our in-house design team creates unique styles of fine jewelry in every price range. Exquisite symbols crafted with superior standards and made to last a lifetime. We have a variety of diamond infinity designs to symbolize your everlasting love. We're also known for our natural and vibrant rubies, which represent enduring passion. Or select a stylish necklace with the stone in her favorite color or her birthstone. so you'll always be close to her heart. Our jewelry consultants in the store and online will help you find something beautiful to put under the tree. Your gift will be a symbol of your love that will be treasured forever. Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
Hey folks, this is Mark White with The Mark White Show, and you can tune into The Mark White Show every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. right here on Rock 99 WQEE The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk.
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, home of Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Key and YouTube.com at Braves Country. Welcome back. As we are heading into a Monday night, not a whole lot going on in the world of sports. Braves are off. NBA takes the night off. Couple of decent, but I hate that this Rays Red Sox game was a day game. That's the best sporting event on the slate today. You do have Cubs Padres, but I'm not staying up till 1 a.m. to watch that. It's a hard pass.
Yep.
Isn't that the last game of the series?
Yeah, that's why I hate that it's
Do a getaway day. Help
Right.
the Cubs fan out that wants to watch the game but also wants to go to bed, you know?
Exactly. They should respect the road fans too. But for real, I mean, the fourth game of the series shouldn't be the latest game. To me, that's just foolish.
Yeah, it's dumb, especially when yesterday's game was 4:00.
Yeah, why wouldn't they swap? I mean, I know it's a Sunday, but whatever. You could have played 4:00 yesterday, 4:00 today, whatever.
Exactly.
But I guess the Padres are trying to pull a quick one.
Cubs, Padres, that's going to be a tough one. Hendricks going up against Snell.
Yeah, and Snell's last two games after a slow start to the year, he's been turning it around a little bit. So Hendricks, this is only his third start back. Snell has looked better in his past two starts. And the Padres want to at least have an even series. So this game's going to be a very hard one for the Cubs.
Yeah, you got Rangers and Cardinals series is pretty interesting, but Wainwright versus Martin Perez, man. I'm going to go ahead and give you my lock right here. Give me the Rangers minus 145 on the money line, just under the proverbial nod. There's a couple other games that I do like, but to me, that's the best bet.
I like that one too. Martin Perez, I think he's going to look on point tonight.
If it hadn't creeped up when I got it earlier today, it wasn't as high as it is now. But the Miami Royals game is minus 170, so it's above our minus 150 rule.
Mm-hmm.
But Garrett should go out there and deal against the Royals.
Oh, yeah. I don't see any way that, I like that as well. He's been pitching good lately, Braxton Garrett.
What's your lock of the day?
I was kind of along the lines of you earlier in the day. Pirates wasn't as big as it is now, but they ballooned up to minus 175, so they're obviously off the board. But I'm sticking in the world of baseball here tonight. I'm going in the world of Cincinnati for Reds Brewers, and give me newly called up prospect on the Cincinnati Reds. He's a top 100 prospect in all of baseball. He's making his major league debut today, and he led the minor leagues in strikeouts at the time of his call-up. Give me Andrew Abbott, the left-handed rookie pitcher in the Reds at home against the Brew Crew. I'm excited to see what this kid could do. The Reds currently sit at minus 124 straight up. Brewers' offense hasn't really been relevant lately, and I think Abbott continues to silence them tonight.
All right, so you're taking Cincinnati?
Yes, sir. Minus 124 on the line straight up. Let me put our locks in the chat right here as well.
That's a tough one, man. He's going up against Toronto and the Brewers. How about Julio Teheran, man? 1-1 with a 0.82 ERA. I thought that dude's career was over.
Same.
And he's got a couple of good matchups this week. He's going against the Reds. And what was the other team? He's playing against another bad offense. Who is it? It's Brewers and
he used to be one of the creams of the crop as well.
A's. He's at home against the A's.
You love to hear that if you own Tehran in fantasy.
I picked him up. You know I did.
Yeah, that's a good pickup. I mean, sometimes those veterans on those second or third chances kept lightning in a bottle.
He's going twice. The first one's in Cincinnati. That could be tricky because of the ballpark, but Cincinnati's offense is just average at best. And then he's going at home against the A's. You got to figure that he's worth the pickup if you stream him both games.
Oh yeah, he's going to have at least one really good performance, and the other should at the very least be subpar as well if he was adequate enough to this point. I don't think he shells out this week.
I streamed Garrett in, I think it was all 8 of my big leagues.
Wow. So you're really hoping for a good one from him.
Well, I mean, he's home against the Royals.
Yeah,
I did not know this till just now. That for folks from Florida that are always blocked out because of those games, that game's actually on FS1 tonight.
Wow, that's kind of cool, actually.
That is. Thank God someone's putting Monday Night Baseball on.
Why not? This is a time of year where NBA's winding down, NHL's winding down, college sports are winding down.
Those two, anyways, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you might as well give me more baseball, man. Literally, and ESPN used to actually.
It's baseball season. Turn the page.
ESPN used to be pretty good. I remember when ESPN used to give us 3 to 4 night games a week. Now it's harder to find on ESPN.
Well, they've gone all in on this whole. Hey, by the way, before I forget and get sidetracked.
Mm-hmm.
Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp have broken up. Their final show will be right after the NBA Finals or something.
Mm-hmm.
Guess sometime in the late July. At the way that thing is going, that the pace that series is going. Who would be your guy that you would want to see put in with Bayless? And I'd say you can put just about anyone. I mean, you can't do someone ridiculous who wouldn't leave their current situation, but most of them are on. ESPN's talking about doing major cuts, and I heard something about that they're going to go to straight streaming service. Is it 24?
Wow.
Or 25. It's either 2000. I think it's the 2024-2025 sports season.
That's crazy. They kind of been working towards that with the ESPN Plus thing and stuff, but man, that'd be crazy if they just move completely off of cable.
That's what I heard. I heard some kind of here it is. It's 2 weeks ago. ESPN is launching its own streaming service. But I don't know when it actually starts, and I bet you this article is going to cut off. The service, I don't see an actual breakdown of when it starts and how you'll be able to sign up with that.
Mm-hmm.
The original price that I see is not bad. It says the service has, wait a minute here. Okay. They're talking about the Plus and what it's called. But it doesn't show what you're going to be able to get. Anyways, at some point in the next year or so, they're going to go to a straight streaming service.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say they're going to try to bundle it with damn Disney.
Yeah, probably. And Hulu, probably.
Right. Because right now, if you get Hulu, Disney, and ESPN, it's $12.99 a month. ESPN Plus costs $9.99 a month. Of course, you can do the yearly charge, and it'll save you some money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for it, man. I'm so sick. See, all I kept hearing during this time period are people complaining about, why are these grandmothers paying for ESPN? Talking about back in the day when ESPN was getting like $5 per cable box, right? Or per cable subscriber, and I don't even watch ESPN was the complaint. You think I watch the Lifetime channel? You think I watch any of that other crap? I don't watch MSNBC, but I got to pay for it. I would love for it to go to just let me go a la carte. I'll figure out what I want, what I don't want. We'll go from there.
That's fair. That's a good point.
My renewal for ESPN Plus was coming up in July. I canceled it because I'm like, what the hell do I need ESPN Plus for in July, man? There's literally nothing on. I mean, they're going to try to tell you, well, you can get your great programming. Some one of the 58 television shows that Peyton Manning's churning out. I'm like, no, I'm good, man. July and August, I'll be good. I'm sure I'll launch it back come September when college football season comes around. But I don't need it when college sports isn't going on. I don't need ESPN Plus. I use it for football, for college basketball, college baseball, college softball. That's it.
Yep, I hear you. I mean, and that's a nice thing. You could save some money here and there by canceling or postponing him. Good point.
Yeah, I mean, and now that this nonsense that they've come up with the whole they want you to pay one flat fee up front to save $100 on the NFL ticket. I'll pay per month and pay a little more, but you're not getting my entire. I mean, I'm not paying $250, $300 for NFL package in June.
Right. They're just trying to get you locked in. You never know if they drop the price either.
The way I eat and drink, I may not make it through October. I'm not paying you the whole 9 yards. We're gonna go month by month.
No commitments here.
What is your game ball? What is your walk off?
My game ball is my walk off is I meant Mickey and me, not Whitey and me. So remember that, guys. My bad on that. And my game ball is Coach Eric Spoelstra bringing back the heat. He's an incredible coach. I'm going to give it to a coach, not a player. Eric Spoelstra for beating the Nuggets last night.
I'm going to give it to my game ball will go to I'll go Sandercock, man. She came in, slammed the door the other night, and she's got the Lady Knowles in the semifinals. But I'm telling you right now, Jokic and Denver, they're going to win that series.
Oh, yeah, they are.
I think it'll probably go 6, but they're going to win that series.
Real quick, give me Mac McGee and Skip Bayless on the new show, by the way.
Yeah. Can we be in the same room so I can punch him? Punch him good? We'll find out. He might be all cut and ripped, but, you know, when we get to moving furniture around, we'll find out who's tough. All fun and games till you get sucker punched. All right, we'll be back tomorrow, 3 to 5. We go live. Keep it locked in here on the Key for Brian Snow. And then, of course, you got Chattahoochee Baseball. I love that name. We'll see you mañana. And Braves Mets tomorrow. Woo-hoo!
Let's go.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks on 99.1 FM WQEE, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country. Braves Country comes your way weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Please follow, like, and subscribe today. Armchair Quarterback Radio, your first choice for Southern sports.
Something of the 5th of September. Something of the 5th of September. She said a lot that I can't remember. Something of the 5th. Can I get another cigarette, please? Can I get another cigarette, please? Yeah, I know I live to regret it. Just give me another cigarette, please. Can I get another cigarette?
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes 1 free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Bye.